Hey kiddos, it's Poppy. I'm going to show you what Mimzy and I did the other weekend. A trip on the bikes. We took the Chessie Nature Trail. That went from Buena Vista, Virginia up to Lexington, Virginia, just over about 7 miles. So hope you enjoy it. Just because I'm growing old doesn't mean I'm growing up. So we loaded up the bikes, put them into the plastic totes that they go in, and put them into the back of the SUV, loaded up everything that we needed. There's Mimsy and I, and there are the bikes in the back. We're on our way to Buena Vista. When we got to the trailhead, there was just a little bit of assembly that we needed to do, putting seats together, making sure the batteries are in, and of course, we're going to need some cold water, so we throw that into the bag, and we get ready to go. Seats are on, helmets are ready to go, and the car's locked. So let's take off for a beautiful day along the Maury River there, and we'll see what we've got. So the Chessie Nature Trail just has an information sign with some quick trail rules, some trail etiquette, and just letting you know that you're going to be going through some private property. You might see some cows. Let's get going. And here's the first gate. One of the rules is that when you go through the gate, you got to make sure that the gate shuts completely behind you, because yep, there are cows on the other side. So we're going to venture on through. And what a beautiful ride next to the Maury River. And that's an old lock. And I'll explain what locks and dams do. That's an old lock because they used to bring boats up the Maury River. And we're riding through some beautiful property. We came across some Canadian geese as they're getting their migratory path heading south. They were just out in the fields. And we're continuing along. Now this is an old railroad bed, so the train used to run along here. The train stopped running into Lexington, and I don't believe they took up the railroad tracks. I believe they just covered them up with dirt and dirt fill. But it just makes for an absolutely beautiful, beautiful ride through some very flat country and past some ponds. Here's what's neat. You're going to see some cows coming up. And we actually had a lot of cows out in the fields. There's an old marker there from when the train ran through there. It's an old mileage marker. So I don't know if you kids can see the fence between us and the cows. And some of the cows were big, some of them were bulls, as a matter of fact. Pretty intimidating. And there is actually no fence in between us and the cows. You're just kind of riding along. So of course, not only does that mean that we've got cows, but we also had cow pies in the road that you had to look out for and go around. So as we come to, this is an old bridge. They took out the railroad bridge and they put in a real nice pedestrian bridge, but they do require you to get off your bike and walk your bike across. Now I'll let you slow down or pause or stop to read these placards as they go, but it gives you a huge history of why they built those locks. And that lock is pretty special because after they were done using it for a lock and dam system, they actually turned it into a hydroelectric generating station. And a lot of history. Kind of hard to believe that right through that lock, when during the Civil War, when Stonewall Jackson was killed, they actually brought him up the Maury River on a boat, his body up on the Maury River, and so he went right through that lock. So it's kind of neat to know that you were only just a couple of feet away from where so much history went by, and that's one of the cool things about Virginia is we have all this history. So enjoy the scenery as we move along. So as we're getting to the halfway point, this is where we turned around. So we stopped, got some water, enjoyed the views, and we're ready to start heading back now. So this is the end up in Lexington, Virginia. Lexington, again, has tons of history to it. Now these are some bridges that I did not film on the way to the ending point, but it does show some old stonework and some old stone walls. Here's a second bridge that we went across. And I don't know if you can see the stonework on the left-hand side. That's all man-made from 150 or 160 years ago. Just absolutely incredible. Here's the information board. This was on the Lexington side of it, and I thought what was kind of neat is that they said that the lost and found was on the opposite side, and I should have looked over there and shown you, but there was nothing over on the other side. And this shows you we almost had the trail to ourselves, and except for here comes a woman pushing a buggy, but it doesn't have a baby in it. It's actually got her puppy in it, and that dog was just as happy as can be that it got to be pushed along the path. So we're back into the trees, enjoying the beauty of the trail. Here's some of the other wildlife we saw. We actually saw a lot of deer, and they just weren't fazed by us at all. Our philosophy was, you're going to go on by and I'm just going to continue to eat. That was pretty awesome. So we saw some deer, saw a lot of cows, including one really big bull. I don't know if I got him on camera. He's in there somewhere. He's in that group. But on the way out, he was right in the middle of the road, and Mimzy said, "Do you think he's going to move?" I said, "Well, I don't know." So she said, "Well, you get to go first and find out." And sure enough, he kind of lumbered right off of the trail and didn't bother us a bit. And so far, our electric bikes have been just absolute champs. We have the XP 3.0 step through with the extended range battery in there. They've just been absolute champs on that day. We did about 12 and a half miles or 13 miles total, and my battery meter never moved off of the energy bar, and my voltage dropped a total of 2 volts in my battery pack the entire day, so I'm just tickled to death. There it is, moving along, and that was pretty average, about 8.5 miles an hour. Now this is an old cable car trolley system, I guess, to get across the Maury River. You can see it on the other side. There's another tower on the other side, and it's got a cart attached to it, but it seems to be fenced off. But I'm sure at one point in time that was the main way to get across the river if you needed to. I'm back on the pass now. This is private property. Some's private and some is public property, but you can see there's an old farmhouse up on the hill here to the left hand side. And could you imagine living in that farmhouse? What a beautiful view you've got. Yeah, you do have some people out walking in your backyard, riding their bikes, but you just have an absolute beautiful view, and there was really not a lot of around him. No neighbors to speak of. So this is pretty much the final section as we're coming back to where we parked the car. I apologize, I did not get any video of us folding the bikes up or putting them back into those big plastic bins that they stay in. So they stay in the bins and then they go back into the back of the SUV. When we get home we can easily take them out. But it's definitely a two-person job. But when we got back to the trailhead, there were a couple of bikers there on traditional bikes, and oh my goodness, they had so many questions about the bikes and our electric bikes, and they loved them and thought, oh my goodness, that is such a game changer, and that'll definitely be a direction that they want to go. But thanks, kids, for coming along on this ride with Mimzy and I. I hope you enjoyed it. We had a fantastic time. And as I always tell you, put down your phones, put down your tablets, get out in front of the computers and go out and take a hike. Or in this case, go out and take a bike. See you, kiddos. Mimzy and Poppy love you.